Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our bizarre and unusual world. Today we are traveling across the sea to the Loch Ness Monster. As usual for this series, I will be covering the who, what, when, where, why, and how of the Loch Ness Monster. So where exactly does this myth, this creature, this cryptid take place? This creature is said to live in a large and deep freshwater loch in the Scottish Highlands. The Loch Ness is the largest fresh body of water in the UK and has become a huge attraction because of this creature. It is said that in some places within this loch, the water goes as deep as 744 feet deep. So what is this creature? If you're not familiar with the Loch Ness Monster, what exactly is it? It is often described as a water being with an extremely long neck that likes to poke out of the water and say hello. Some believers think that it has multiple humps along its body, and others suggest that it could even be related to some sort of dinosaur. The plesiosaur is mentioned, as well as some other potential related creatures. The Loch Ness Monster, and/or Nessie as it is nicknamed, has grown quite the fan base over the years. Some other names relating to this creature actually mean water spirit or water horse in some folklore within Scotland. So when exactly was the first sighting of this alleged Loch Ness Monster? The first recorded sighting of this famous monster was actually in 565 AD. The story goes this water creature came up out of the water and grabbed a man, pulling him out into the water and under the surface. Now, St. Columba apparently went after the beast and showed him the sign of the cross and made this creature disappear, basically, is what the legend says. Different references from more ancient times include art pieces and stone carvings that kind of depict a water-like creature. The mysterious beast is drawn or carved with flippers and based around the shores of the Loch Ness. Another sighting happened in 1935. Now, they had been working on the roads near the loch, and some suggest that the construction could have potentially, upset or bugged this creature and made it reveal itself. So in April of that year, a couple actually saw this creature crossing the road. They described it as a dragon or some sort of prehistoric beast. Now, according to them, the creature crossed the road and headed into the water and disappeared. Of course, more sightings followed after the Scottish newspaper got involved, and at one point the Daily Mail actually hired a man to locate this creature. His name was Marmaduke Witherwell. He was actually a very well-known game hunter, and it was his job now to find the animal along the lake shores, or at least evidence of its existence. Now, this expert claimed to have found prints along the shoreline, but zoologists quickly called BS on this. They said that the prints within the sand was pretty much identical to a hippopotamus print. And apparently he had like a cast of a hippopotamus imprint, and so it was pretty obvious that he had hoaxed the different footprints along the shoreline and hadn't actually found the Loch Ness Monster. Another image came in 1933 from a man named Hugh Gray, but it was later dismissed after it was discovered it was actually an image of his dog and it wasn't any sort of water beast that he had discovered. Probably the most well-known image of the Loch Ness Monster came in 1934. The photo would come to be known as the surgeon's photo. An English physician named Robert Kenneth Wilson is the one who allegedly photographed the water monster. This is a very popular image of Nessie. I'm sure you recognize it when anyone talks about the Loch Ness Monster. This is the image that is used. After the image was published, more people believed this story and the myth of this, marine reptile that they assumed had lived for millions of years. However, there were some people that questioned the photo, and as the years went on and the decades passed, the photo has been dissected and looked into. A lot of people believe that the image was actually cropped so the creature within the image looks a lot bigger compared to the shoreline. There were even studies looking into the ripples against the side of this creature's body, and after a lot of research and evidence, many people believe that this was in fact a huge hoax and that whatever is in the image is only about 2 to 3 feet long. There have been various articles and books about this specific photo. A few specifically say that it was actually a toy submarine that was built by a man named Christian Splurling. Now, he was the son-in-law of Marmaduke Witherwell. Remember the guy that faked the prince along the shoreline? Yeah, his son-in-law built this. And apparently they got the surgeon in on it because he liked a good practical joke, and so they were all in on this big hoax of the most popular image of Nessie.
The photo that first appeared in the newspapers was cropped. The unedited version shows part of the shoreline, indicating that the model was placed near the shore itself. So we follow suit. But the original photograph shows a pattern of distinctive ripples. Now, we also have ripples. Martin is happy the conditions are similar and takes a photo. And with a bit of computer trickery, we can add grain and black and white. Side by side, the two photographs are very similar.
In the 1960s, the Loch Ness Investigation Bureau conducted a 10-year study and survey of the area. Their research showed about 20 sightings per year, and eventually they used like little mini submarines to go and investigate the waters. In the 1970s, more fame grew around this creature when a supposed image under the water showed a flipper of some kind. A lot of people thought it was Loch Ness Monster. So who has seen this creature? And that really depends, you know. It could be a tourist visiting the Loch Ness, it could be people that live along the waters, or someone just passing by. I've mentioned some people throughout the decades, but you know, it really just kind of depends on if you're in the right place at the right time.
Local resident Val Moffat lives just above the dive team's current location and has seen the creature on 2 occasions.
The first time I saw it was in September 1990. I was driving up and I saw it in the bay between the castle and the far headland. I glanced and thought, what on earth is that?
Over the years, there have been so many sightings and descriptions of this creature, from people thinking that it was an upturned boat, but suddenly it disappeared into the water so quickly, from people being in a boat on the waters and something hitting the side of the boat so hard that they feared for their life. People have drawn sketches of what they have seen, from the long neck to the large body. And of course, many people have tried to photograph this creature. Over the years, there's even been some hunting parties put together that were determined to find this creature and bring it back dead or alive. Just to name a few other sightings of the Loch Ness Monster. In 1938, a South African tourist named G.E. Taylor filmed something moving on the loch for about 3 minutes. This was filmed on a 16mm color film. Only one image was ever published from this footage, and experts claimed it was simply a floating object, not an animal. In 1955, Peter McNabb at Eric Castle took a photograph of 2 long black humps in the water, although there is speculation that this photo was in fact doctored. In 1960, a man named Tim Dinsdale filmed a hump that left a wake crossing Loch Ness. While a lot of people assumed it was another fake, a digital editor in 1993 suggested that by enhancing the footage, you could actually see a shadow that was not in the original developed film, basically suggesting that there was more to the body or this image that this man had captured, like there was something underneath the water. There is a long list of photos, sightings, and ideas. A lot of people dismiss them as hoaxes, while others are a little bit more convincing. What about how? How do scientists feel about the Loch Ness Monster? Scientists in general believe that the water-dwelling monster has no real evidence or biological basis. They basically believe that the sightings are just misidentifications within the water, hoaxes, or just, you know, something else within the water. There's not really a Loch Ness Monster. Many scientists suggest that it's just birds sitting on the water, eels, or elephants, which is very random. You would think that people would notice an elephant walking around Scotland, maybe, potentially. They also suggest catfish as well as a potential misidentification, or different, you know, pieces of wood in the water, pieces of boats, optical illusions against the water and the sun. Lots of different reasons why they don't believe there's actually this huge creature.
Let's get down to it. Is there a plesiosaur in Loch Ness? No.
Professor Neil Gemmell says they've cracked the Loch Ness code. For almost a century, Loch Ness has been the setting for one of the world's greatest mysteries. Thousands of people claim to have seen...
Saw this black hump come out of the water.
It was like a torpedo going through the water.
I have your footage here. So
and filmed an unknown creature in Loch Ness.
The sonar research they have conducted has come up inconclusive. Some people wonder about deep caves within the loch, and basically if animals of that size could survive in deeper caves like that. In 2018, there was a DNA evidence taken from the lake to test. Basically, they wanted to test and see which creatures were actually living in this water. There was no dinosaur DNA found within the water, so a relative of dinosaurs is highly unlikely. There was also no catfish DNA found in there, so that took out a really big potential theory that people had. There was, however, a lot of eel DNA within this water, so is it potentially possible that Nessie is just a giant eel that has grown and grown over time? Is that a potential possibility?
There's an awful lot of eel DNA in Loch Ness. Could there be a giant eel? Well, we know there are mutations that make things much larger than normal.
So, could this be Nessie? Case closed? Well, not quite. Professor Gemmell says 20% of his DNA samples are still unencoded, and he's put that information online so people can reach their own conclusions.
Scientists also debate if such a large creature could actually survive in this water, considering how much food it would have and other resources just to simply survive. As of right now, this loch is not connected to the ocean, although there is some evidence that at one time it could have been connected to the ocean. So is this how this massive creature got into the Loch Ness and it's just been chilling here for decades? However, the loch didn't exist until about 10,000 years ago, after the last ice age, so lots of history, science, and data to take into consideration when, of course, you compare it with the local folklore. So why? Why do people still believe in the Loch Ness Monster today? Like any cryptid or mysterious creature, it's like something mysterious living among us. People think about all the different sightings and the stories and the folklore, or what about those ancient carvings? What sea water monster were they depicting in those ancient carvings? Was it Nessie? There are still sightings today. Last September, a man captured the image of what he claims is the Loch Ness Monster, but you always have to take into consideration today, computers are so easy to fake footage. And there's also rumors circulating around online that the man that captured this footage is a 3D editor. So I'm gonna call BS on his footage right now. There are some believers that also believe science. They think that potentially at one point the loch did have some sort of creature like this, but over time climate change has made it so this creature could not survive and Nessie is no longer with us, basically. So what do you guys think? Do you guys believe in the Loch Ness Monster? Is Nessie a real thing? Do you think it's a giant eel like I mentioned? What do you think about the DNA evidence? Is it a dinosaur ghost? Is it something ancient mysterious like that? What do you guys think is hiding within the waters of the Loch Ness? I would love to hear in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching this series, and I will see you guys in the next video.